obnoxious Democrat attitudes and obnoxious Republican attitudes. Now, I'm a registered Democrat and I've never changed. I became a registered Democrat when civil rights, the Democrat Party was, when the Kennedys were in, and that's when I really became a strong supporter of what the Democrats were doing, because I got all involved in seeing how many brave men were fighting for civil rights, and got killed, like Medger Evans, Martin Luther King, and a whole lot of others who had to suffer over this and have suffered many years trying to get more civil rights for blacks. And during this time of murder, when eventually the Kennedys were murdered, good heavens, we didn't talk about not believing in God, trying to get secular thinking going and God out of the whole process, because he wasn't relevant. Religious thinking wasn't relevant to government. When you get assassination, and a nation has to deal with the deaths of presidents and president nominees, you're going to need prayer to deal with that. That's when men find their beliefs, is when they need them the worst. So this was, I would say, a period of time when the strongest religious convictions possible were needed. Well, then came 1973, when Roe versus Wade caused legalized abortion in our country. Then all of a sudden, this was at odds with the commandment, thou shalt not kill. The very commandment that had been violated with the assassination of our president and other leaders. So now it was like the Democratic Party and liberals fell into defending legalized abortion. It became legal. And overnight, the newspapers all went pro-choice, I suppose, because now it was legal. They weren't going to go out on a limb and keep on saying, oh, no, this is not right. I can see why the media went pro-choice. But to do it without even a fight, it seemed to me, not even protesting. Well, yes, there was more protest about this issue sent to the Supreme Court than over any other decision they have ever made. And legalized abortion continues to trouble many people in this country. But what happened when younger Democrats and liberals embraced legalized abortion, and it almost became that a candidate could not get nominated as a Democrat candidate for president unless they were pro-choice. And then the Republicans, say within our last campaign, John McCain was pro-life. So this became a rallying cry for the Republicans, a difference between the parties. Republicans pro-life, Democrats pro-choice. And me as a registered Democrat, Christian Democrat, a person who needed God in my life. Why? Because of some near-death experiences where I needed that. And that was a natural process to crisis, which, if perhaps there's quite a lot of people who've not experienced it to that point, they haven't needed God. You know, life has been good enough without Him that they didn't need that reassurance, that something to cling to. And so I could not, in good conscience, vote for a pro-choice candidate. I crossed the line. I said, well, we're Christian pro-life Democrats are no longer welcome in the party. I mean, we constantly being high pressured to support legalized abortion. And just right now is going on in Congress over the health plan. Democrats are trying to include abortion funding, and they're standing very strong on this. It's not talked about too much, but the Republicans have rejected the health plan that President Obama has supported, the Senate version, and that Senate version allows for abortion funding. And it's like the Democrats and the Republicans are not actually clashing specifically on this topic, but it's one of the topics that the Republicans have taken a stand against. And I'm part of a pro-life movement that is trying to get health care without abortion funding. And to me, the Democrats haven't got to the point where they're willing to pass a health care plan without abortion funding. Now, they're not telling the public this, they're not calling attention to this, but they have not taken that out of their proposal. President Obama has not taken it out because there's so many Democrats that are absolutely dedicated to pro-choice. And at the same time, I think that the Republicans have not done themselves any favors by obnoxious attitudes that a lot of them have. Fighting over something in very denigrating, insulting terms. It's like when a Republican loses their temper and says nasty things, that's supposed to be okay. And when a Democrat does the same thing, like for example, when Sarah Palin is talked about by Democrats with a lot of contempt, a lot of contempt for her intelligence, her education, her knowledge. You know, this is, I think, been a Democratic attitude, is we're the educated people. We don't even know what secular thinking means, and these stupid Republicans don't even know what the word actually encompasses.
Didn't she read in the paper now she's on a sitcom?
Oh, Palin? Fine, Palin. It's like your IQ needs to be a lot higher if you're going to be in a public, Palin.
Didn't you read that?
Yes, I've read it. I read a lot about, but again, this is an obnoxious attitude coming from, which I've encountered many times, intellectual snobbery. How can you not believe in pro-choice if you're intelligent, if you're educated, if you're with it? How can you not? It's like religion is now classed as what hillbillies think, rednecks think.
Okay, you got about 30 seconds.
So what do you think? That's my take today.